Namaste. I was on the beach yesterday with a couple of friends and I was watching this enormous boat that looked like a dhow out in the ocean. And there were all these men on the boat and they were pulling up this anchor. And they had to stop for a minute and then they had to pull it. And it was really deep and it must have been stuck somewhere because I could see their struggle as they were pulling up the anchor. And as I watched them pull up the anchor, I had this vision of that anchor being my self-worth. And I have understood recently, as I've come out of this very deep journey within myself, that I had taken my self-worth and I had anchored it to something that was not me. In my case, I had anchored it to men and sex. And having taken the journey and allowed all those things that I have buried within me to rise to the surface, I had understood where that had come from. In my case, that had come from a history of being an Indian girl, where from the time I was born, it was talked about how my worth was really defined by being married by men. By the sexual traumas I had gone through, I had defined my worth based on sex. So wherever I traveled through life, I had thrown my anchor out and I had attached it to the man I was with, to sex. And then it had anchored me. And the radius in which I was allowed to move was very limited because my freedom, my sense of me, everything about me was anchored to something else. So what do you anchor yourself to? Really think about it. We live in a world where we have defined value and self-worth based on a job, how you look, how old you are, how much money you make, how powerful you are, what does your house look like? When you invest in all of those things, you're not only seeking happiness, but you have attached your self-worth to these things, thinking that all these things will present you as worthy in society. A large place where we anchor our self-worth is to society, especially if you are an Asian. Because in that sense, we have defined who we are by society. Society defines our worth. When I got divorced, I was really black sheeped in a lot of societies. Well, I mean my society, but in a lot of communities in my societies. If you're a widow, you are sent away because you are no longer worthy to be part of society. You are dirty. So there are all these things in society that have also defined our worth, and we've anchored it to a society, then to a job, then to our body, then to looks. And as a result of it, we have just created this very limited life in where we can go because we're afraid to move out of that box because our worth is defined by that box. And so when you take a journey similar to yoga or Buddhism, they are major, amazing, beautiful disciplines that take you into a journey within you. And part of that journey is understanding, what have you anchored your worth to? Start to realize and understand. And how you understand it is you know your worth is anchored to something because, for example, if you lose your job, you feel like a loser, you feel horrible. When you lose a relationship, you feel like there was something wrong with you. When anything changes in the external and it affects how you feel about yourself, then understand that you've anchored your worth to that thing. So take the journey, pull up the anchor. Keep pulling it up. It's a long journey. It's a heavy anchor. And it takes a while. But you know what happens? When you pull up that anchor and you put it on board your boat, you being the boat, or the wheels come up on the airplane, then all of a sudden you have freedom. I can now sail around the world. I don't have to have my self-worth attached to anything. From these videos, you could probably tell I haven't attached it to my hair or my clothes or the way I look or anything really. And when you have that, you have freedom. That's what freedom is to bring it all back in. The happiness is within me, the joy is within me, the worth is within me. Now I can just sail. And I'm not worried about, do I have that much money? Do I have a big house? The universe provides for me as long as I do the work. I get up and I do the work every day. I self-study, I teach, but it provides the rest. And you have freedom. And that is what freedom means. Bring it back within you and be absolutely free. And then what else comes out of it is now I can do a job, I can do work, And if something happens and that has to close or no longer exists, I'm still good. I can be in a relationship now and just love. Love unconditionally, because there is no more conditions I need to attach to that love, because my worth is in here. I can have healthy relationships in my family and my friendships, and I can now set boundaries and speak my truth and say, hey, this is not comfortable for me. We need to change this. This is not healthy for me, because I am now indifferent to the outcome. If I say that and that person leaves or decides to throw a tantrum and doesn't want to be in my life anymore, it's okay. My worth is within me. So then everything becomes really healthy, because you are not tied to any of those things anymore. And just before I leave, self-worth is not selfish. It's not being selfish. Always remember, there's a massive difference between selfish and selfless. Self-worth gives rise to selfless relationships and love and giving. Selfishness, well, you know the answer to that. Namaste. Pull up your anchor. Experience freedom. It's amazing. Have a beautiful day.